I'm Dr. Ruchi. I am the critical care in charge at ILS Howrah. And so today we thought we'll discuss something about critical care, as people would not have that idea that we want them to know, because they should know what kind of work we do, and then they'll have their trust and belief in us, and probably we could work together to making a healthier society. So in critical care, primarily we deal with patients who have multi-organ problems, and most often we deal with sepsis, and that affects all organs, and that is when they need a multidisciplinary action in a unit which can deal with emergencies, and that's why it's called critical care unit. So sepsis, as we know, is the reaction of the body in response to an infection which can be bacterial, viral, fungal, even parasitic. So the body's immune response against that organism actually kills the different cells of the body and creates more problems. So the patients become very sick. There could be sepsis. There are three types: sepsis, severe sepsis, and septic shock. So sepsis is when we know there is an infection, a patient has come and we need to deal with it. Severe sepsis is when we know there's an infection and it has already affected one or two organs. And septic shock is when the patient doesn't have a BP that is good enough to help him survive through this journey. That is when they need highest support of best of the antibiotics, support for the BP, sometimes ventilator, sometimes dialysis, sometimes a temporary pacemaker, and many other things that we can't get into details with. Why is it so important for us to know? Because time is very important in sepsis. If we do not come to the hospital in time, and if the treatment is not registered on time, then we already lose half the battle. So the treatment starts right from the emergency and it continues into the ICU, and then patient becomes better and hopefully walks out of the ICU to home. Because it goes for a prolonged period, most of the patients do come out of sepsis, and by then they would have already started something called as ICU delirium. That is also another topic I wanted to talk about. What is ICU delirium or critical care unit delirium? Is neurological symptoms developed by the patient, which is not attributed by the disease itself, but rather by other factors, like if the patient stays for a long time in ICU, if there are many medications going on him, like sedations and painkillers, analgesia, they have an effect on him. Then what they start having? They start having delusions, hallucinations, there is perception changes, they start having mood disorders, they start having inattention, they don't listen to you, they're like drowsy, they're sleeping, they're not waking up. Or the other side of the spectrum is they're highly irritated, agitated, and they just want to go away from here. They don't know what they're doing at that time. So it is a psychosis, not a neurosis. So why does all this happen? This all happens because the patient is in a closed room. He has no sense of what is happening in the outer world, when there is day, when there is night, they don't know. So they don't get the sunlight. We all are very aware of day and night, and that's why our brain is functioning properly. But if you keep ourselves also in a closed room, then we also will get psychotic after a few days. So that is one reason. Second reason is many medications. If you give a lot of anesthetic agents to put them to sleep, if you give a lot of painkillers for a long time. So what do? We give sedation intervals, we give analgesia, and we use judiciously painkillers. We should give intervals every day. We should let the patient wake up and we should talk to them. We should chat with them. And then last thing is we should allow the families to meet them, so that they have a sense that where they are, what they're doing, who is he, who is that person, what is happening in the family. We give them newspapers. They want to know what is happening in the world. So all those things help us avoid such situations. But if those situations are avoided, we have many drugs to help us. And then we try to get them out of the ICU, wheel out of the ICU very soon, let them stay in the room with their family, put them near a window or a door where they can see the sunlight and know what is actually happening outside. They want to. So that really helps in dealing with ICU delirium or ICU psychosis. it is not a very bad. So what do we expect? What does a family do in it? The family keeps coming and talking to them and bringing back memories. And what do they expect at the end of it? That very few patients, especially the aged patients, do remain to have a memory problem or a cognitive dysfunction even for the rest of their life if they have had a very long ICU stay. So yes, it's not like ICU psychosis goes away completely. In very few patients, less than 10% of patients, less than 10% of the psychosis remains. But it is not life-threatening. So we can deal with it. Some medications can help it. So this is my ICU, and we have 10 beds. We have all the amenities that we can give to the patients: ventilators, dialysis, temporary pacemakers. We have round-the-clock nurses, doctors, RMOs who are very good at their job. And I'm sure our journey is going to only get to better heights. Thank you.